Alright everyone, welcome back. I know it has been a while, but we are back once again with Terra Invicta. It sounds like there's time to fit one last playthrough in before major patches start significantly rebalancing the game in 2024, and the faction that you guys have told me to play in this final playthrough before all those patches begin is the Initiative. Whereas most factions are principled and have a goal to do with the aliens, the Resistance wants to protect Earth from them, Humanity First wants to destroy them, the Servants want to worship them, and the Protectorate want to surrender to them, and the Exodus just want to just run away. The Initiative's goal is just to gain wealth and power by taking advantage of the situation that the aliens represent. That doesn't mean they like the aliens. The aliens, obviously, if the aliens conquer the Earth, they're not going to have anything to rule over. So they're going to want to resist the aliens, but mostly they're just here to, as the title puts it, to exploit them. Now, I gave some thought to difficulty for this one, and there are two choices really. We could do a brutal playthrough or a veteran playthrough, and the reason I'm doing veteran today is because brutal is a very specific sort of experience that requires you to play a certain way, and I want to save this for our next, once the game has been updated a bunch, maybe even at 1.0 when we play Humanity First again and return to sort of the classics. I want to play brutal, I want to play try hard, but for this playthrough I want to have a little bit more fun with it. So we're setting the game to veteran. Now, in terms of how this is going to work, in order to make this fun, is I may be the chairman of the initiative, but you, of course, you are all the board of directors. And so I will be both setting myself thematic house rules and challenges. I've made massive spreadsheets of potential rules covering everything from opener restrictions to random evil actions to various other mega projects, technologies you would normally use, various instructions that are thematic but also fun. Which I will be adding more from every episode. So we'll start with relatively few restrictions in a pretty straight game. We'll add more every episode. Plus, of course, you as the board of directors can be suggesting your own house rules, which we'll be adding either automatically or rolling against, again, with every episode that passes. So that over time, I am but a humble chairman, and I have to respond to the demands of the board. To give an example of some of the rules that will be in effect straight from episode 1, because of democratic oversight, I cannot open in any country which has a democracy score higher than 7, which instantly rules out some of my favourite openings, but I think it'll encourage a little bit of innovation. So without further ado, let's jump into the game and meet our team. Okay, so welcome to the Geoscape that we all remember. Let's meet the 3 councillors that open with the initiative. We have Azra. Azra is an evangelist who is apocalyptic, affluent, untouchable, and eminent. So a high persuasion character that I've attached a couple of initial organizations to, who gives us persuasion 8. Roman Rudnev is a kingpin, so a criminal mastermind born in Kazan, Russia, who is a criminal, corrupt, oligarch, indulgent, demanding, has a paramilitary crew, so he generates ops income by himself, is suspicious, rich, low profile, and a quick learner. So he is a rich, corrupt Russian oligarch. I cannot think of a better potential match for the initiative than Roman as a starting character. He's strong on admin, command, espionage, persuasion, but the key for him is that because he has this demanding trait, this gives him plus administration and command, which is a good thing, but he suffers -1 loyalty every time any councillor from our faction has a critical failure on any mission. Coupled with some of his other factors, like suspicious, we might have a loyalty problem, and he might need to, have a hype person tell him just how good capitalism is repeatedly so he doesn't defect. Finally, we have Louis Martin from Paris, France. And Louis is really going to shape our opening, along with the house rule that I rolled for episode 1, which was from my opener restriction list. Louis is a politician, born in France, so he has government, but he's also a demagogue. Demagogue gives you a monthly influence income, -6 espionage for detection, so he's almost always going to be detected by opposing councillors, but he has +3 persuasion in countries that have low levels of education, +3 persuasion in countries where cohesion is low, and he's less effective in countries where education is high. He's a rabble-rouser. He's also a fanatic, which gives him even more persuasion in countries where education is low, plus loyalty and +5 apparent and actual loyalty, so he's more loyal on average than other councillors. So he's a politician who is fanatically devoted to the idea that corruption and capitalism is awesome. Great. He's also indulgent and prosperous, which means I think all of our characters, yeah, all of our characters are rich, like independently wealthy. They are all so rich that they generate money income just from being them. So, the key here is Louis. So Louis has Persuasion 9 after I've done his initial level up, plus he gets an astounding +8 bonus in countries that are low cohesion and low education, which makes him like 17. He can break into countries which meet those criteria. He's not so good in countries that don't meet those criteria. So, that rules out a bunch of countries, but just rules in other ones. I cannot, for example, open in the European Union, which is unfortunate. I've opened in the EU before. It's a really strong opener. It's very dynamic. You got to take over different countries. It can give you lots of research, lots of mission control. Strong opener, but can't do it because France is out. Similarly, the United States is out with a 7.8 democracy score. So I'm limited in terms of the best possible openers. I could go with a China opening, which is very, very strong, but I did that in the Academy playthrough. Don't want to do a repeat. However, India has a democracy level of 6.9, an education level of 5.6, and a cohesion level of 3. Developing, polarized, and flawed democracy. 6.91 means it's just under my 7 threshold, which I wasn't thinking when I wrote the rule, but super convenient. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you've watched Terra Invicta playthroughs on this channel before, so I'm going to try and jump through the opening pretty quickly. I'm going to play through the opening. I'm going to try and grab Kazakhstan and Russia. Usually there's not too much competition from the AI there, and a good bonus to this strategy is it means the AI will have an opportunity to go into Europe and eventually North America, some very powerful states, basically without me getting in their way, which might give them a greater opportunity to do well. We'll see. I'll advance time, pick up a 4th councillor, and be back in a moment. And for our 4th councillor, because I always spread the manifesto to the world to get the early influence and allow you to recruit a 4th councillor immediately, we've picked up this gentleman here, who I've already renamed. He was Alexander something. I've renamed him Alexander Faceman, because that is going to be his job. Let's think about this for a moment. We have the corrupt criminal boss, the oligarch from Russia. We've got a politician fanatically devoted to the ideals of self-enrichment, corruption, and corporate greed. We have an evangelist whose religion is apparently capitalism. Well, not capitalism, crony capitalism, in which we get very rich and step on everyone else. And then we have this gentleman here. Alexander is from America. Alexander is an astronomer. He's a veteran. He's a national hero. He's ethical and a quick learner. He's scientifically minded, with good skills in command, administration, capable of inspiring people, and his role is to be the front man. He is the face of the organization, because we can't, send, Roman out talking in public, or Louis, although under specific circumstances maybe. Alexander is the acceptable face of this organization. He's the hero, and we're going to send him around to do nice things. He's not going to have to get his hands dirty. His job is basically going to be, initially he'll do Control Nation like everyone else with his 3 persuasion, but if we build that up a little bit, he can do the Inspire missions. He's our first scientific recruit. He's a quick learner, so he should develop very, very quickly. And he's got some good bonuses across the board. So he'll operate in space, he'll operate scientifically, but eventually I foresee him being built into an advise nation bot, because the 3 stats you want for a person who advises a country are command, administration, and science, which are all skills that he starts strong in, and which, thanks to Quick Learner, he will quickly develop in. So welcome to the team, Alexander Faceman. Okay, so jumping forward with the initial scramble to 1st of December, which is a nice time where I like to start slowing down because what a playthrough is looking like starts to become a little more evident. There's always an initial scramble for country, mad scramble for position between you and the AI and Terra Invicta, but given the countries I'm going after are not normally at the top of their list, I faced very little competition. Instead, the AI has been knife fighting over traditional targets, particularly places like Europe, where you have countries that are easy enough to take over, that they're desirable, or that they're within reach for low-skill councillors that everyone starts with, but they're also full of valuable resources, technology, etc. that everyone wants. No one's broken into the United States yet, but I thought we'd do a quick scan of the world and also of my position. Europe is currently divided basically down the middle. France and the United Kingdom are fully controlled by pro-alien factions. France is entirely servant. The UK is mostly servant with one protectorate CP. The protectorate controls the UK's corporations. The servants control the executive, the legislature, and what is the other CP in the UK? The mass media. Okay, there you are. So that part of Europe is all servant. Spain is coming under protectorate control, but jump across the border and things look very different. Germany has 3 Humanity First control points and 1 belonging to the Resistance. Italy is split between Humanity First, the Resistance, and Project Exodus, and I imagine that's going to expand outward. Turkey has also got a Humanity First point, as does Algeria. Algeria's on lock, actually, and I imagine that's where Humanity First is probably going to spoil in order to get their early income. The Academy, meanwhile, has gone to Asia. Japan, as is often the case, has gone Academy, lots of early support, lots of early science output. So the Academy has locked that away along with South Korea, and apparently someone's cracked down the servants in South Korea too. So Asia blob, Academy. Australia, a little bit of Academy. Indonesia, Protectorate and servants. There's a lot of control points not seized for some factions, particularly for, I'm thinking Resistance should have some CP cap, Exodus should have some CP cap, so we expect them to take more over the coming turns. Meanwhile, we've locked down Kazakhstan, I've locked down Russia, so that's all completely locked down now, going for a couple of the border states. I haven't taken the final India CP, but taking India with Louis, like if you get a starting council that looks like that, do it, because India is low cost for what it is. It has enormous potential. It's not going to give you the opener. It's more about potential and more than what it delivers you straight away. It's not China. It's not the United States. It's not the European Union, but it gives you great starting research output, and it has potential to become really, really powerful. And Louis rolls like a 95% chance taking it now. It was high even before, and the reason we've got it on lock now, like 95%, is because it has this control point number 3, religion, which means the bonus to public opinion shifts in the favor from the unity priority. That effect always happens, but it's much increased. So with a little bit of unity investment, you can crush all opposing viewpoints in India super easily. And you can see here, we're maintaining 83% popularity, which makes us basically unassailable, super secure. I haven't even defended interests in India. We'll take the executive relatively soon. We're just a bit CP constrained at the moment. But yeah, India is on a lock. I've got to adjust the priorities, but it is what it is. For the moment, I'm just building straight mission control in Kazakhstan because building MC in smaller nations is super efficient. Same thing with Belarus. Belarus is going to build mission control. They both start with space programs. And Russia likewise. Russia likewise is building mission control and also investing in unity because we need to fill out the public opinion in Russia just to solidify our rule there. That's where we're at in 1st December. We're also pushing ahead to try and we've taken control of one global research slot. The rest we don't have the research to do. We're not even first in the research so far. I think Humanity First has more research output and the servants are comparable. But we've seized one slot and we've gone straight for advanced chemical rocketry, which is a prerequisite to lifting stuff into space to places like the moon efficiently. So I'm going to go for that first. We're also researching just the +5 CP cap and social science lab while we wait for more interesting things to happen. I'm going to jump forward just a little bit more, probably a week or two until we can get another councillor, and then we're going to slow down and ease into the playthrough. And you might be like, Perun, what do you mean another councillor? You don't get a 5th councillor slot for a while. Like, that's a more advanced technology. What are you talking about? The answer is, I recommend usually you look at your opening council lineup and see if anyone deserves to be fired after the opening stage. What you need immediately, right at the start of the game, is to get as many high persuasion characters usually as possible to get those control nation and public campaign actions out. After that point, however, having too many high persuasion councillors, it doesn't help you anywhere near as much. So you may notice that our evangelist is gone. So the bloke we're looking at here is Paweł. Paweł comes from Poland and he is an executive. I can't think of a better lineup initially for the initiative than a corrupt politician, an oligarch, leader of a criminal organization, a business executive who is also rich, a quick learner, streetwise, has family ties, etc. This one from Poland, and a faceman astronaut to serve as the public face of all of it to show that we are the good guys, because we have to pretend to be the good guys. So Powell brings a lot to the table. Quick learner is amazing. This means you level up 20% faster. And leveling up is how you increase your CP cap and make your councillors more useful. He is government, which means he can use a whole bunch of organizations. So, for example, Pavel could recruit the Secret Service or the Russian Main Intelligence Directorate because he is government. So he can use some of those more useful organizations, which he'll need to be. He's streetwise, which is just good. Crew is just good, more ops income. Family ties gives him a bonus in Poland. Rich means that he produces another 10 money just by himself, and I just think it's thematic too. Who would work for the initiative if they weren't like super rich, or if they weren't recruited in specifically to be the front man the way Alexander is over here? He's also got the unifier trait. Unifier just means that he has +2 persuasion in nations that have at least 6 cohesion, but more importantly, it means he has stabilized nation. Normally executives do not have this. Our evangelist did, and she was busy stabilizing India, which is critical to getting its output levels up. You want your nations to be stable, but Pavel can stabilize by himself. So for the moment, that's exactly what Pavel is doing. I'll go over organizations, world state, and then we're going to start playing, because I think 22 January is around when things usually start to get interesting. So we picked up a money, economy, space mining bonus for Pavel early. We recruited Perun. Did find myself in the org structure. I want to move myself off the kingpin. I want to go work for the face guy. Mr. Faceman. But I'm giving at the moment Roman public campaign, Caliburn Materials, Duracell Solutions. Then Alexander has money income and some science and a little bit of ops income, plus something that allows him to assault alien asset. So he can use that command score of 8 to attack xenoforming or things like that. Louis has plus admin and plus income, and also gives him an inspire mission. However, for some reason, why can't you inspire? You're suspicious. And I can't remove that. Damn, because we're going to need inspire. Well, I could move this to Pavel. Pavel can inspire. And I also want to skill up, and I am skilling up Alexander here. Persuasion 8, 9 is probably enough to do reliable inspire missions, and Pavel's busy at the moment, so we'll leave the org readers for now, because Pavel's got a lot of work ahead of him, stabilizing India, then stabilizing the Eurasian Union. Other than that, not much to say before we start rolling the clock, building a bunch of mission control out this way. I took over some countries and then abandoned the points, so Azerbaijan comes to mind. I think Azerbaijan and the Baltic states were the main one, just to set them on mission control priority. So they build mission control, so when we later absorb them, they hopefully include a bunch of it. So Azerbaijan's crackdown point, until someone takes it over, is investing heavily in the space program, and for some reason the Protectorate is too, which I'm not going to argue with. Kazakhstan should have its first mission control point ready relatively soon, and we should be finishing advanced chemical rocketry any time now. Alex is rolling a low-level Inspire check just because we can. Other than that, we're trying to increase public opinion in Russia just a little bit more, and then we can turn off Unity investment and get onto something a little bit more productive that doesn't damage the country the way it does. Oh, and we've got criminal favors. Roman. What do we want to do with you? We have advanced chemical rocketry, and we won the research slot. Excellent. So, what can we go with? Outpost Halves is a massively obvious pick. In fact, I think it's the obvious pick. We could go Deep System Skywatch if we didn't like the Academy. Deep Space Propulsion, obviously. But I think you need Outposts, because Outposts leads to Mission to Moon, Mission to Mars, Space Mining Recovery. This is the obvious technology, and we'll keep 2 spots on it and trying to control the slot. We're also contributing to Advanced Carbon Manipulation, but Humanity First will probably win that one. We're not contributing to a rival domestic. The Exodus will probably get that one. And we're continuing with Social Science Lab and Management Research down here. We could probably switch to a lab eventually, but for the moment, little 5 extra CP. I'm happy to keep working towards it. We will eventually need Energy Lab and Military Science Lab. We need all of the labs eventually. I think we can get away with 1 tick of Management Research, and then I'm going to shelve it for a while, but let's keep rolling the turn.
Order is returning.
Stabilize, repeat.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
The reason I'm using public campaign in
Public
Russia
opinion
is because it
remains
reduces the
unmoved.
amount of unity that I need to use. Roman has finished, failed his public campaign. I'd like him to do maybe 1 more, and then I'd like to remove my organization and put me on someone respectable, like Alexander Faceman. We are over our CP cap, and we have hit a new normal. Okay, so turns are now a fortnight rather than just 1 week. The question is, do I want... Because I'm currently losing a lot of influence that I could be using buying orgs, controlling more CPs than I can afford. I can level up some guys to help, maybe. Our fast learners should hit their fast learner mark next turn, so we'll get 1 extra CP from Roman. Faceman's a little further off. Pavel will also hit 16 next turn, so we'll get 2 extra CP, so we'll get 198 of 182. What I really want is 250 influence in order to get the main intelligence directorate, which is +4 admin, +3 espionage, plus investigation, plus persuasion, plus ops income. It's just, you get a lot in exchange for 50 money a month, which is a lot, but it would be a huge boost to whoever we want to make our espionage character. I think Roman's role, just might be a Kingpin, is he's going to be our espionage guy. He's going to be our trigger puller. He's going to do the School of Dirty Tricks. So assassination, stealing projects, purging, that's Roman's job. Alexander, like I said, hype man, who convinces everyone life is excellent, plus he's going to be the one who does admin for our countries. Science, admin, command, you name it, plus he can do command stuff right now. Louis is probably, I think, going to become investigation eventually, just because it's not worth speccing into persuasion too much, because there are persuasion boosts later on, and he's got great admin but not very good command. So I might spec Louis, even though I want to keep him for these traits, plus the idea of a fanatic who he's a fanatic for the faction that has no morals besides exploiting the situation. I just think that's hilarious. So I want to keep him, but probably spec him into investigation and give him a government organization or 2 that allows him to do more investigate missions. So for example, the Secret Service is a good one. Secret Service gives investigate counselor, so that would be useful. Detain counselor is another investigation mission which is given by SEAL Team 6. So there's opportunities to build Louis out. Pavel's got lots of options. Pavel can be anything because he's a quick learner with good starting admin, good command, good persuasion. Pavel might actually be our command character, because if we give him like assault, alien asset, and a bunch of other stuff, like even just giving him ISIS defense services right here would give him assault, alien asset, meaning that he could eventually grow into a command character. But for the moment, that's Alexander's job. But this will solve everything. Okay, so clandestine cells, amazing technology, allows you to recruit your 5th counselor and gives you 10 bonus control cap. That gets like maximum mega ultra priority. We'll even pick up outpost habs. Like, we can do outpost habs later. Let's just 100%. It's inefficient to do 100% your technology on anything, because you get a bonus to your tech output for each way you split your research. So you generate a lot more research if you divide across multiples, so you're encouraged to do so. But 100% clandestine cells, get it on 8 March, get another counselor, and that'll solve the CP issue. It'll give us more capacity to round out our roster, and lets us make more of a decision on how to build our characters. So let's roll the time. Space tugs process less important. What we're going to want is interplanetary chemical rocketry if we want to go to the moon, which obviously we do.
Things are stabilizing.
India
Public
continues to
sentiment is
stabilize. I've
increasingly
also
with us.
moved the starting Indian armies to their home territories because that reduces their upkeep. So India is now producing 18.7 investment points. By contrast, Russia produces 11.2, but America only produces 20.8 because it has so many militaries that are eating up so much upkeep at the start of the game. Still super valuable. Biggest research output in the game, biggest starting MC, second highest starting boost, excellent funding income, and of course the military, which you can use. But the US is an incredibly valuable pickup. What I'm thinking of doing is once I get my extra counselor, I'll have extra CP, which means I can start thinking about my next move. I have a country that eventually will be able to produce crap once I convert it over to it. I'm just doing a little bit of economic growth first, not too much, but a little bit in India. Before we start getting into the really role-playing stuff, probably in episode 2. India is going to be fantastic to generate research income. I think if we specialize, India is going to be research and economic output. Russia is there to produce mission control and nukes, which it starts with. Plus it can consume more nations that can also have MC in them, like Kazakhstan and Belarus. What we really need is a country that can serve as our military. We can possibly use India and Russia for this if we build some navies, so we're more deployable. We're not particularly high-tech though. So I'm thinking a high-tech nation might be suitable as a military beatstick, but that's potentially getting ahead of ourselves. For now, let's move on to Councillor number 5. Okay, new organizations on the agenda, and we have some spare money thanks to the criminal. I'm just going to have to get into the initiative mindset. I should be happy I have money from criminal activity. It's going to take some adjustment, guys. I really want to lean into this, enjoy it, but I'm not naturally built for it. We have some amazing stuff on offer. Crosshairs Biotech, Aquila Spacecraft, and White Fang Industries. Now, White Fang Industries looks incredible. It's plus 1.25 boost, plus 4 admin, plus 2 science, but it costs a lot more money than we currently have. We can go straight into Crosshairs Biotech, which will give us more admin, a persuasion, and 2 science on Alexander. I think that's worth it as an immediate investment. So that's great. The question is, do we spend 250 money on Aquila Spacecraft, which gives us mission control, boost, space program, and plus 0.25 boost now, or do we save up to get the admin boosting super organization with 1.25 boost? I think the answer is you gotta do both. We'll give Aquila Spacecraft to our bloke, our front man, and then I think we'll start finding, we'll save money. We might even do shock horror, because Peru never does spoils. We might do some spoils to quickly generate some revenue. Russia could generate some, but Belarus is also a great candidate. No one's going to notice if money goes missing from the Belarus treasury, obviously. Same with Russia. Which we can use to fund some additional organizations. In particular, that super boosty one. So leave that with me, and let's get clandestine cells and maybe some more orgs. Okay, the Russian budget is temporarily 75% corruption. This represents a 10% decrease from previous years and is rapidly increasing our float to afford that expensive organization before someone else grabs it. We've got Mr. Faceman off investigating alien crash sites, which is something an astronaut should do. Building up those funds rapidly. We can probably turn off the unity in Russia. We'll go 100% corruption just briefly, get ourselves a critical amount of cash, and then we'll ease up on Russia and go back to pumping out mission control. We're halfway towards our first point in Belarus. Kazakhstan has finished its first point and is working on its second. Meanwhile, India is getting pretty stable, which means we'll eventually be able to swap Powell over from stabilizing India to getting the unrest down in Russia, which should get the research output leveraged up as well. We are going to lose control of a research slot, so we're going to have to wait for one to finish and then seize control of it again, I'm pretty sure. But outpost habs will be done, and we're a week away from clandestine cells. Okay, there we go. Clandestine cells is complete. Let's swap this over to... we will go energy. No, we'll finish management research. Not that we'll prioritize it particularly heavily. So we'll go back to 1. What might we seize control of? I think if we do that, we might seize control of carbon nanotubes. We might be able to catch up, but we'll also see what happens when outposts finish. Hopefully they go for mining next. I think this is a good distribution. I might just get a little bit on a rival domestic. It costs us a month on management research, but we're pushing the global tech a little bit more. So let us do that. And let's see who's available to recruit for slot number 5. Because this'll answer a lot of questions around how we build everyone else. What have we got? A aware, famous, national hero, chemist, scientist, an activist, a professor. And the key here is not just the statistics and traits, it's also what do they give you in terms of bonuses. Fixer, investigate counselor, government, shit command and administration, academic crew, government extremist, +3 loyalty, +3 apparent loyalty. Azra is still in the pool, no one's picked her up. Counselor, judge, government, puppet master, careless. With crackdown, investigate, cancellor, and detain. Sheila Perumal from India. You come out of the box. You'll have 11 CP contribution because you've got some persuasion and administration. And I feel like you might be better. I mean, this professor over here gives you a lot of scientific output. 16.5 output plus 15% in social scientists, which is powerful. And then we have an activist who has turn counselor, which is also very powerful because there are very few other characters who have turn counselor. I don't think we have one. And there are comparatively few organizations that give that bonus.
For next mission.
So that's actually really... And she's also an Inspire bot straight out of the back, which would mean we wouldn't need... And undercover. Undercover means she can infiltrate stations and ships and take control of them using persuasion. Now, she's horrible in terms of CP count, and she has no science. But she would be a turn counselor. So, here's what we can do. We have some choice here. We can go science. Get a scientist, build up council science level, grab chemist, that helps. Professor would do the same thing, but in a way that gives us more admin and has investigation, starting investigation skill, but no investigation talent, so would be very reliant on us finding non-government, non-criminal organizations to help us do it. We could go with the judge. The judge gives us or to an extent the fixer. The fixer is probably the same. The judge or the fixer, with the judge giving us more CP and government, and the fixer giving us fewer CP but more investigation out of the box. Judge gives you more investigate missions, because you'd start with crackdown, investigate, and detain, which I think you could get from organizations if you went with a fixer. Much of a muchness, ultimately. So we wouldn't have to solve for this problem. Whereas this one, we wouldn't have to solve for this problem. And I don't think activists can become government. This is a difficult question. Leave with me. Alright, so here's my thinking. Powell starting at a low investigation base, yes, but he will level very, very quickly. Like, very quickly, and we can instantly lift him to 5 and give him the relevant missions. Like, the Secret Service, we might not get it might be another one, but we can get someone who can crack down effectively. And Louis might incidentally get there as well. So I don't think the Investigate 25 straight out is super important to rush to. Meanwhile, Turn Counselor is like really good and really hard to get. Inspire, Undercover, Plus, you know, getting an activist to work for like the corrupt corporate dudes, I think that's kind of funny. Another zero scientist character is going to hurt us. But I think this is the go. And it takes some pressure. I mean, the rest of the time, she's basically going to be inspiring in public campaigning. It's not a dramatic contribution, but like we can make something of it. I think we instantly go into more admin though. Like we're going to need more administration. We need to fix this admin lineup so we can get some orgs on. But I think that's a valuable contribution. Now it only gets us to 198 over 206, but we will eventually be able to consolidate Kazakhstan and Belarus, so there might be further options down the line. What we need to get going now, however, is the hype train. We need to get our activists to start. Maybe 7's too low. Maybe I should have given her 1 point of persuasion. We need to get her lifting the loyalty of everyone up. We need to have meetings with these people. We need to have Alexander and our new recruit, and I'll name everyone in episode 2. All these names are temporary. If you would like your name to submit your name for a character, put it in the comments. If you are a patron, you will absolutely get priority, so please put a note there because names on YouTube and Patreon don't match. But if you are a patron, just say, yep, I'm a patron. I want one of these characters. And any instructions around naming or customization, just let me know. But basically, we need to get our Faceman character and our activist in a room with everyone else, telling them how good corruption and capitalism is, and why it'd be really great if we just manifested the rule of corporate overlords over planet Earth. Like, oligarchy is awesome. And through the power of rampant corruption, we can give Mr. Faceman White Fang Industries, which will give us a massive increase in boost, lifting us from 3.5 to more than 4, and lift his science level accordingly, while giving us just that little bit more CP cap. So with that, we can probably end the horrible damage that we were doing to the Russian budget. Let's give like some consolation prizes to bring that inequality level down just a bit, while we get back to building some early mission control. But I think our real focus is making the most of opportunities in places like Belarus, Kazakhstan. We might ease up on Russia soon enough, but for the most part, the Eurasian Union exists to be a giant mission control station for the initiative's operations in space.
Thoughtlessly
Now,
plunder.
we have our first diplomatic contact. I'm going to say hello to the Academy and see if I can get an early non-aggression pact. What do I need to give you? I mean, I could try and see if you have any cool orgs. Some of this is okay. Some of it is not. I mean, all of it's useful. Laguna, oh, that's amazing. Laguna Foundation would completely undo everything I said about needing that activist, to the point where I would consider firing her. Laguna Foundation, I think, is the only org in the game that gives you turn counselor. Plus, it gives you admin. Sweet, sweet administration. Will you take... I'm going to see if I can buy this off her. One sec. Okay, so the answer is no. She won't take it even for all of our orgs. So that's a non-starter. However, even though I'm going to say I might get a non-aggression pact here, if I can hostile take her, if I can find the counselor that has Laguna Foundation, and I'm going to try and find that counselor, we need to hostile take over that. We need to steal that org. That org is a fantastic organization. And if we do, we might be able to later on swap out our activist. It's not too late, and we can always keep an eye open for good recruits. Swapping out an activist for someone else, because the turn counselor mission is just so useful to put on someone else. One of our other high persuasion characters, perhaps, and we could swap her out for a science focus or an investigation focus. Anything that would be great. Can I give you like I can give you a little bit of something. What will you take? Will you take 1 boost? I mean, it'll help you out. I want you to go to space. There we are. All right. Will you give me any money? No, I can't buy money from you. So there you are. Fair trade. I accept. Have 1 boost. Be happy with me. But the moment I find the counselor who has that, I'm taking that org. Meanwhile, I do have our activists basically following Roman around, because Roman gets really annoyed when people critically fail, and they sometimes critically fail. So for the next couple of months, all our activist is going to do is follow Roman around and tell him how good oligarchy is, right? Like, hang with us, everything will be okay. Mate, we put the Russian budget to like 100% corruption for like a month and a half. So like, it can't be all bad here. Let's fix things up. Interplanetary chemical rockets, fantastic. That's what we need. It's not super urgent and it's super cheap. So we might do it after Social Science Lab. We are taking control of carbon nanotubes, which is fantastic. We're leading the research. We're not leading anywhere else. Outpost Habs is about to finish, but when we finish social science, we'll grab interplanetary chemical rockets not because of the increase in boost investment. I don't do any boost investment. Ignore this. This one. Reduces boost use for sending material from Earth to beyond low Earth orbit. That just means going to the Moon and Mars and whatever just became that much cheaper. You want it. So let's see what the Resistance chooses as the next technology.
Things are stabilizing.
There are two types of people in this world. Those who think only of home, and those who think only of leaving home.
Yeah, we're mostly the former.
Dating profile.
You guys can leave. We want to rule over Earth. Thank you. They're going orbital shipbuilding next, and we can do outpost core, which we also need before we get mission to the moon, and space mining. So outpost core definitely on the list of things to do. Orbital shipbuilding is a bit meh. So now we're really hoping, hopefully they make the right choice here. But if not, we need to get this slot turned over to mining, and then someone needs to hit mission to the moon. Luckily, orbital shipbuilding is cheap, so this one should finish even before this one that we're plowing a heap of our research into. The development else picture is really starting to solidify. Exodus has started to take over a lot of Central Eastern Europe. Romania did fall to the servants but they've been pushed out. Germany, Italy, like I said, still occupied, but Sweden has also gone humanity first. Denmark has gone resistance. So you've got this sort of Cold War of essence. I think the line's also been pushed over here because the resistance took over the Benelux, which produces a lot of stuff, even for a relatively small nation. It's pretty cost efficient in terms of investment points and what you can do with it. They're sort of splitting across a whole bunch of stuff at the moment. A lot of that's going into boost, 41%. So, who knows? Who knows where that will go? France, however, France and the UK, still very much under servant control. Still don't have any CPs taken in the US, but the anti-alien factions have gone into Mexico, which will give them a bonus. The Protectorate started in Canada, which will give them a bonus. And there's an activist from the servants operating, looking like they're doing public campaign in the US. Well, that would suck.
Visioning the aliens as any kind of business opportunity.
After a thorough investigation, it seems clear the aliens are targeting and abducting individual humans. Some animals also appeared early on, but that seems to have quickly halted. This raises troubling questions. While a handful of human abductions, of course, pose no large-scale threat, they do suggest the alien objectives may be fundamentally adversarial. Given our attempts to communicate with the aliens have come up against a blank wall, our only viable avenue of investigation appears to be the data we've gathered on the abductions. So, now we need to research alien methods when it becomes available. Alright, we can do that, and it becomes available. Alien methods, super cheap, 300. It would be more efficient. It would be more efficient if we waited to get a xenology bonus, which is really easy to rack up. But I'd rather just get this sooner, push the story along. Management research is not super urgent, so let's do that one and continue for the moment. And apparently the Academy has immediately said, hey, the threat from your organization is too great to ignore, the non-aggression pact is off, which I assume is because we're doing too well relative to them. Mate, you have more CP cap than me. You have about as much influence income as me. You have as much engineering as me. You have space stations. I don't. You have more MC capacity than me. The only areas I'm leading you on are boost and money generation. And research a bit. So I don't know what you are on about, mate, but I don't think I'm that far ahead of you, but okay. All that means is I'm going to have to give them another gift to get them back on board. Okay, the activist ended up not staying with us very long at all because we've already got better options. The tech mogul is not the better option, although was very interesting. Computer science is good. Beloved gives her inspire. Demanding meant the same thing as our kingpin, but also a nice little stat bonus. Family ties, prosperous, expert was kind of cool. Pariah is not so cool, but it's only applicable in the United States. Like, this is a good character. Research, influence, money generation, science, beloved. There's a lot to like here with the tech mogul. Very, very cool. Doesn't have turn counselor, doesn't have applicability in terms of a lot of things, but very cool. I think the direct replacement is Nadia here. She's a spy. She's born in Kyiv, Ukraine. She is furtive, so she's always going to have apparent negative. She's always going to be negatively perceived. Oh, she doesn't have inspire. See, the thing is, she has good investigation, espionage, out of the box, government low profile, street file. I take it back. The potential replacement of the activist would be the tech mogul, with better admin, but a more limited mission list in the sense that it does not have turn counselor, but is otherwise much, much better. Like, this is a much, much better character overall than this character. 7542. We're never going to use these. The thing that we're really missing, the thing we're really going to be missing is turn counselor, which is just such a good mission. Because it gives you total intelligence. But you know what?
Mission is a no-go.
I just think... I think this is better. Especially if we can hostile. The key is we need to be able to hostile takeover. If we can hostile takeover, because there we are, we're up to 217 straight away. If we can hostile takeover rather, that turn counselor org, that's the go. We're going to need to find that academy person, and we're going to need to make them an offer they can't refuse. And since India has reached my initial goal of 8,000 GDP per capita, they're hitting the books. 100% hitting the books. Nothing but books all the time, nothing but books, and only in commercially viable fields. Ladies and gentlemen, you are studying STEM. There ain't no arts degrees in India right now. Under initiative rule, it's going to be all engineering all the time. Bingo. Delphinus Intelligence Group. Just an org can fix a character, I swear. So Louis gets +1 investigation, but also gets investigate counselor, detain counselor, surveil location. He's basically now a spy character. So even though he's a politician, Louis spends all of his time spying on people. When he's, he Bruce Waynes. He's like appears as the politician, and then he dons his like ninja garb and then goes spies on people. So there we go. Important upgrade. Okay, the Academy has made a good choice. They took this tech slot and they're taking us to the moon. Mission to the moon. Fantastic. We're not going to have mining ready in time, but we are working on our outpost cores so we can at least claim our spots on the moon. We have our interplanetary chemical rockets. It's going to be affordable. So if there are good spots on the moon, we get to claim them. We're not going to rush this technology though, because there's a lot to work on. We need to take control of another slot. We are going to take control of this one. Everyone else has basically given up except for humanity first. And after we have carbon nanotubes, we need to get the technologies for mining, because what's the point of putting the base on the moon if we can't make profit? We're not on this for hollow research or achievement. We're the initiative. We need to make cash. And here we go. We have alien methods.
The aliens seem to be targeting people in positions of authority.
Okay, early abductions were all lower order mammals. Period of 10-20 days, animal abduction ceased, human abductions began. Okay, so the initiative has figured out, like the other ones we played, that they're taking value individuals of high socioeconomic status. and identify the potential risk. This is intelligence gathering at least, hostile takeover, extermination at worst. Given their technological superiority, this is a worrying prospect. New and significant development. Abduction victims reported missing have begun to reappear. This is highly suspicious. The councillors agreed they must be placed under immediate surveillance. So we have to perform surveil location missions in area with alien presence. Send councillors to investigate alien activity when you discover evidence of alien influence on the population or leaders. I can do that. What else do I want to do? I probably want to grab high thrust probes at some point before someone else does Mars. No reason not to bank it in now, unless I want management research, but I'm not sure I want the 5 that badly, because it would cost as much as high thrust probes. I think we're going to get Outpost Core, and Outpost Core is going to become management, but for the moment I want to start on high thrust probes, because this is how you get to Mars first. Now this is going to cost us some money, but the Air Force Research Laboratory costs 65 money a month, gives you 25 science, 1 science, but gives you plus 20% efficiency on all military investments, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff, and 8% science research. I think we're going to slap that on Powell, because even though it's going to cost us in the cash department, I think the bonuses long-term are going to be worth it. It also means we're starting to shape up a little bit more in terms of what everyone might be doing. We've got Mallory, who's just going to be the tech mogul. So we're going to be persuasion, we're going to be administration. We've got 2 sort of hype characters. I'm liking the roster. Louis is going to get a bonus as soon as his new org that I've just picked up, just a 1 star. So he'll go up to 9 investigation, which puts us in a decent place to start thinking about the UK. Roman has just acquired like half the organised crime syndicates of Russia, Eastern Europe and Central Asia. He's got the Azeri Mafia and Bratski Krug, as well as a bunch of other boosters. So his espionage should jump to something fierce as soon as this turn cycle ends. So let me cycle that and just see what our odds of breaking into the UK are, now that more than half the population believe that, corporate oligarchy, mega corporations, it's got to be better than the guys who are currently in charge, right? Okay, we're getting close to where this episode will end, because Mission to the Moon has just popped, and as a result we have sent our probe to Luna, and we'll get there relatively soon. We'll see what sites there are to claim. We've got 27 boost to reserve our sites. The goal here is to get preferably a good bootstrap base, which is somewhere that produces at least 3 resources that'll be net positive, because that sort of thing can really lead to boost savings for Mars. And the second goal, sometimes the Moon has some really good fissile sites. If so, we're going to try and reserve one. To my frustration, however, the winners of that tech slot have decided to go straight into Mission to Mars. This is a bit of a waste. We don't have the technology I would want before Mars gets focused on. So we're not going to be able to capitalize. We're not going to have our lunar bootstrapping done before the other factions are, to such an extent that we can monopolize Mars. But because, we're the initiative, and I would like to become absolute tycoons. I would like to dominate Luna and the Moon, because I have ambitions, especially when we start dropping mega projects from episode 3 onwards. Mars and Luna have a lot of thematic potential. Luna, because obviously it's right accessible from Earth, so you can imagine people almost commuting there eventually. And Mars, because, well, if you don't colonize Mars, what are you even doing? And the probe arrived, and I clicked so fast to claim the sites I wanted to target that I didn't even hit the microphone on button. Here we are. This is our Moon. For the most part, it's shit. It's the Moon. That's to be expected. All good. There is an okay fissile site, 6.5 fissiles, which I have reserved, because there's reasons I might want a lot of fissiles if we're going to be doing this sort of playthrough where we're not going to take just the most efficient line of tech. There's lots of potential things that might rely on fissiles, but we do have a sort of a bootstrap site. The Shackleton Crater does 9.1 water, 3.1 volatiles, 7.7 metals, which means a mine produced there, well, we don't have the mining technology yet, but from my reckoning and memory, that means a mine producing there should be positive on all 3, which means on net it will be relieving all the boost penalty for running the base and letting us stockpile resources to save up in order to reduce the boost cost of Mars. Because if you're using mass drivers and railguns to fling the supplies from Luna towards Mars, you don't have to boost them from Earth using chemical rocketry, which is what we're currently doing. And when you're dealing with lots and lots and lots and lots of tonnage, so things like ordinary metals, water, and volatiles, that really helps. So that, I think, is where we're going to leave it. We've established ourselves pretty firmly on Earth. We have full control of India. We have full control of the Eurasian Union. We're working on mission control across the board to try and up our ground-based space game. We are over CP cap, but I think I can resolve that relatively soon by doing things like, for example, going through and seeing if there are any CPs that I currently control that I can afford to crack down myself on. Eventually, countries like Belarus will finish filling themselves with MC, as will Kazakhstan, at which point they can be absorbed. If we ever have enough spare CP, what we can do is we can release Ukraine, fill Ukraine with mission control, which will be a good way to optimize investment points. Small nations are much more efficient investment point-wise. We have Pakistan. Pakistan probably going to get rid of the army eventually, but once we've got a public approval up to a sufficient level in Pakistan and perhaps lowered the unrest a bit, again, it's going to be all space program all the time. The Pakistani economy is going to be directed straight into the space race with little care for anything else, and I think that's the core of our position. No one's taken China. We have servant Western Europe, resistance and humanity first controlling this band along Central Europe. We have some presence, protectorate in Canada, resistance humanity first in Mexico, so both with potential ambitions on the US, plus some servant support in the US, and then academy in Brazil, Japan, and South Korea. So an interesting start. It does mean that if you look at the resource intakes for the factions, it's actually not that far apart. We've got a research lead, but only by 100 points over humanity first. Yeah, and the AI collectively is doing more boost income than we are, which is good. And of course, they have a whole bunch of mission control by default, and a lot of CP control. So far, the AI is handling the economy side pretty well. I think handing Europe to them might have helped, but I would have preferred it didn't go to the servants in France and the UK. Let's just hope that the protectorate holds on to that one spot in the UK, the trade unions, because as I said, those protectorate trade unions are right now the only thing preventing the servants. Well, they will be once the cooldowns all fire. The only thing preventing the servants connecting or unifying the United Kingdom and France into one nation. And if anyone's going to do that, it should be me. Hope you're enjoying. See you all again soon.